Hello, hockey fans. My name is David. I thought I would start this message around 3:30 on the afternoon of Sunday, 4th of December, 2022, North American Eastern Time. What I would do is present. Let me Google there and present. And we have the power rankings. There we go. So, present the video. Alright, I also was going to present about Besser, train block, and where the Canucks should go into tank mode. So just going to recap the games. So to go to the weekend games here. Nope, we don't need that. So 3rd of December. Yeah, the scores on the Sportsnet webpage. It's wins by all Canadian teams, bar the Habs and Leafs. Although the Habs and alright, so I was just gonna. Oh, interesting here. Oh, the game's already on. Didn't even know. Alright, I'll get to that in a moment. Jets are already in action. He's on TSN. The Jets region of NHL Center Ice provides TSN broadcast. So we're just going to, where do I go here? What I'll do is, the Leafs sweated buckets to get a point against the Tampa Bay Lightning, a potential playoff foe. See though if the Leafs can even get in. Of course, the Leafs had a very good month. They've gone over 10 games. They've gone 11 games in a row without losing in regulation. All those games wins. Any other game, losses in overtime. Leafs have had loads of trouble with 3-on-3 overtime during this season. The objective of the postseason will be not to get games into overtime because again, there are only two outcomes. There's a win and a loss. There's no between. Playoff games that our losses do not produce points. So the mindset has to be very different. But regular season, Leafs have to do all they can to get points because it's super competitive in the East, in their own division, and more security into a top 3 divisional spot, whatever that spot happens to be, between themselves and the 4th place team in that division. So much better. Jets, there's a little bit of concern after the 4-1 loss to the Blue Jackets on Friday. Currently in action now against the Ducks. I'm going to go to that game as soon as I can. Now I thought I would do, and there's also rumors about Brock Besser, one of the forward, so the Canucks being traded, and claimed by Clay Imu, known as Canuck Clay on YouTube, about his not wanting to use the word tank, but I will. Is it time to tank for the Canucks? It's not clear yet, but there are signs that the Canucks are slipping. They didn't have the best week after all. 2 losses at home. Twin 5-1-1s. First one to the Capitals, and one later last week to the Panthers. Ugh, not good. And about wish list for Western Christmas, claimed Canuck Clay. Well, more scoring from the top 6. But I also say, when it comes to defense, it just wasn't. The defense was a little bit better, but still, 2 goals allowed and an overtime, winning in overtime against the Coyotes. Well, it took at least somewhat a monkey off the Canucks' back. It's a 4-game homestand, so the Canucks have a chance against the Habs on Monday Eastern Time, or at least when the game ends Tuesday Eastern Time, Monday Pacific Time, to end the homestand with 4 points in 4 games. Not great, but better than ending up with fewer than 4. So what I thought I would do is go through the power rankings. My response to the power rankings for the hockey guy. Plan to post the video as soon as possible on this video. Number 1, the Leafs. Well, the Leafs continue to be on a roll during the week. Didn't lose a beat in regulation. Sure, Matt Murray gave up an ugly goal, a bit over half a minute into overtime against Lightning at Amalie Arena, but it's hard to blame him very much because he saved Leafs bacon. He kept Leafs in the game. Indeed, neither the Leafs nor Lightning managed to take a lead of more than a goal at a time. So, at least on the Leafs side, it's encouraging that the Leafs did not trail by more than a goal at a time. Not so encouraging, Leafs didn't take a lead of 2 more goals at any point in that game. And, well, yeah, when leads are that slim, they don't do as well. So, here we go. But at least the Leafs ground out a point, and hopefully that'll help them. But first place, first among Canadian teams, 4th overall. I can't do too much complaining. If the Leafs could continue to be on a roll, so much the better. Number 2, the Winnipeg Jets, 10th overall, and second among Canadian teams. Jets seem to have been relying a bit on Hellebuck, but again, it just put up a stinker of an effort on Friday against the Blue Jackets at home. Ain't good, but maybe the Jets will smarten up and play some good hockey. What can you do, though? Let's see what happens against the Ducks, but team to watch out for. At number 3 among Canadian teams and 12th among all NHL teams, we have the Edmonton Oilers. Barely in a playoff spot, with the slate of weekend games having been mostly over. A key win to keep them up there. It just they had trouble keeping the puck out of their own net. Once again, 9 games in a row, having allowed at least 3 goals. Not good. 5 wins, though 10 points over 9 games, not great. The Oilers have got to do a better job if they're going to keep in the Western. If they're going to, stay in the Western Conference playoff race, at least within striking distance of a playoff spot, if not in one. Well, I'm sure fans are hoping that they get in one, but you never know. So we're now going to go to among Canadian teams. We have 1, 2, 3. So we now have number 4 among Canadian teams and number 19 overall, the Calgary Flames. Yes, Flames ended up winning big against the Capitals at the Scotiabank Saddledome, but an up-down week, it sure was. Flames went from being in a playoff spot to being just out of one. 1 point behind, 1 point out of a playoff spot. Like, weren't the Flames supposed to be good? They have Nazem Kadri in the center, as a center. Jonathan Huberdeau on one of the wings. Mackenzie Weegar on defense. I don't know about Cole Schwinn. Haven't heard too much about him, but the big guys. Weren't those 3 supposed to move the puck well, put up the points, effectively defend? Well, weren't doing enough, and look at that 7-game losing streak when Chris Tanev went down to injury, and the Flames couldn't even win once. They got 2 points. 2 points over that 7-game losing streak. Gotta wonder, what's wrong with this team? Funny. So it'll be interesting to find out if either Alberta team will make it into the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs. Last season, the Leafs and the 2 Alberta teams made it to the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Alberta teams won their first round series. The Leafs, as usual, didn't win theirs. So we have the Leafs, Jets, Oilers, and Flames. So number 5 among Canadian teams and number 23 overall, we have the Habs. Another up-down week. A slim win over the Flames, but a loss by 2 goals to the Oilers. So a mixed bag in their Alberta road trip. But again, at least the expectations of making the playoffs aren't that high for the Habs because, well, it's rebuild time. Tanked. And, maybe the Habs will get into a playoff series. Maybe they'll get close. Maybe they'll competitive. Well, games seem to be fun. I have my laughs, when Canadian teams lose, particularly if they're not the Leafs. But again, it's just really my my way of coping with the lack of playoff success by the Leafs. My hope is that this season, a Canadian team other than the Habs will win a Stanley Cup as much as I respect the post-1967 success in particular of the Habs, including the Stanley Cups won and even made to the finals. Yeah, well, the Habs didn't do that. Habs made to the Stanley Cup final 2 seasons ago. Yeah, during that North Division stint or whatever. Now we drop down a little bit to number 6 among Canadian teams, and 26th overall we have the Canucks. Yes, a very much up and down week, and yeah, they're off until Monday, but still, what can you do? These Canucks just very inconsistent. It's they sweated buckets to beat the Coyotes in overtime, and it only happened very deep into overtime. I believe over 4 minutes in, it was over. But again, yeah, sure, the Canucks may have a better track record in overtime than the Leafs, but but it just, if I were Canucks, I would say, well, these guys shouldn't, the Canucks shouldn't have sweated buckets to get that, to win that game. The Coyotes, should have manhandled them, whatever. Anyone show me their inner Coyote? Ow! well, Coyotes are not expected to make it into the Stanley Cup playoffs. Be about drafting players. But again, the rebuild's been a very long one, and yeah. Well, I'm gonna move on now to 27th overall, and the Canadian team that the hockey guy claimed deserved to be ranked dead last among Canadian teams, the Ottawa Senators. The two teams, the Canucks and Sens, have about the same points percentage, but again, yeah, the Sens are kind of very consistent. They've had trouble scoring goals, and you name it here. Just what the Canadian playoff landscape will be, it's anyone's guess. It could be the Jets, for all we know, and the Leafs. We kind of too bad if the Leafs remain the only Canadian team to get in. But again, the Jets seem to be doing pretty good. But if the Jets stumble out, yeah, who knows? Anyway, I'm going to end off. I'm going to go watch what remains of the Jets game, and go Leafs go.